Bom dia a todos, sejam bem-vindos à videoconferência referente aos resultados do primeiro trimestre de 2025. Eu sou Rodrigo Caraça, gerente sênior de Relações com Investidores da companhia, irei conduzir a videoconferência de hoje. Presentes na videoconferência disponíveis para a sessão de perguntas e respostas estão o Sr. Peter Klinkers, CEO, e o Sr. Renato Salum, CFO e diretor de Relações com Investidores. Informamos que essa videoconferência está sendo gravada e será disponibilizada no site de Relações com Investidores da companhia, juntamente com a respectiva apresentação. Ressaltamos que o Sr. Peter conduzirá a apresentação em inglês. Para sua conveniência, estão disponíveis traduções simultâneas para português e inglês. Elas podem ser acessadas por meio do ícone em forma de globo, identificado como Interpretation, localizado na parte inferior central da tela. Ao clicar nesse ícone, serão apresentadas 3 opções: áudio original, português e inglês. Selecione aquela que melhor atenda à sua necessidade. Para o Q&A, a sessão de perguntas e respostas, orientamos que se manifestem via ícone de Q&A, no botão inferior de sua tela. Por padrão da dinâmica, seus nomes serão anunciados para que façam sua pergunta ao vivo. Nesse momento, uma solicitação para ativar seu microfone aparecerá na tela. Vale ressaltar que parte das perguntas serão respondidas em inglês, e mais uma vez pedimos a todos que utilizem a ferramenta de tradução, caso sintam necessidade. Antes de prosseguir, gostaríamos de esclarecer que eventuais declarações que possam ser feitas durante essa videoconferência, relativas às perspectivas de negócios da companhia, projeções e metas operacionais e financeiras, constituem-se em crenças e premissas da diretoria da Iochp Maxion, bem como informações atualmente disponíveis para a companhia. Considerações futuras não são garantias de desempenho. Envolvem riscos, incertezas e premissas, pois referem a eventos futuros e, portanto, dependem de circunstâncias que podem ou não ocorrer. Gostaria agora de passar a palavra ao Sr. Peter, CEO da Iochp Maxion. Sr. Peter, por favor, pode prosseguir.
Hello, good morning, everybody. This is the first time I'm speaking to you on this call. Maybe not the first time I'm speaking to you, but I'm sure there's many people that did not speak to me yet. So let's spend 1 minute on me presenting myself, and then the rest of the time we spend on Iochp Maxion. So I am from Holland. I'm happily married. Have 2 kids, 10 and 12 year old. And I'm working since 30 years in automotive. The first 10 years for a fantastic company called Michelin. And then I changed towards an American listed company called Hayes Lemmerts. Worked for them until this company Maxion took over Hayes Lemmerts back in 2012. And so in the last 10 years working for Maxion, I've had the honor to lead our wheel business globally. Some people may ask, and some people do ask, both privately and business-wise, so where are you going to be, Peter? And I actually wrote a first day letter to all my 17,000 colleagues, and I told them, you know, I will be around. I actually made a habit out of trying to visit all of our locations at least once a year. That becomes more challenging the more locations you're managing, but I will continue to strive to do that. Visit some locations more than once a year, some maybe every second year, but I will be around. Now, given the nature of my job that I now have officially since a few weeks, of course, I will be spending more time in Brazil, and my official office location will be Brazil. So in a nutshell, I would say pretty global, but based in Brazil. And that's actually a good introduction, I think, to Iochp Maxion, because it's the same. This is a pretty global company, which is based in Brazil, has its roots in Brazil, and is based in Brazil. So how's this company doing nowadays among all the turmoil that we see in the world? If we go to the next slide, Aina. Then we can see that you know, the market has been dynamic, and unfortunately not in a positive way. When we look at these numbers 1 year ago, they looked a little bit more positive, and so nowadays the latest information from Standard & Poor's Global is that actually we will see a reduction in 2025 in light vehicle production excluding China, of about 3%. I'm saying excluding China because for Iochp and Maxion, we have a limited presence in China, so we prefer to look at numbers excluding China. And then for commercial vehicles, actually, this number has now turned into a -5% for this year. The positive story is that over the next coming years, everybody still believes that this business will grow, the automotive industry will grow, and especially in truck, we still expect a good increase going from 2025 into 2026. But right now, I would say we are having more of a downturn in the global markets than of an upside. Now, what does that mean for Iochp Maxion? If we look at the next slide, you can actually see that our net revenue in the first quarter of this year has been up almost 10%, just over 3.9 billion of revenues we recorded. So that's pretty good, and we will go into some more detail on the next slide. So if you look at gross profit, we've been doing good as well, I believe. You know, an increase of more than 15% versus the first quarter of 2024. So a total of just over 443 million reais we generated, which represents a gross margin of 11.3%, which is about 0.6% higher than what we did last year, the same quarter. So good progress, I would say, as well in that respect. From an EBITDA point of view, we're on track with our internal targets. You know, the growth has been good in absolute numbers, of course, also helped by FX. 12%, almost 12% of growth versus the same quarter in 2024, and we're actually generating about 9% EBITDA in the first quarter of 2025, which is an increase of 0.2% over the same quarter last year. And then last but not least, I think everybody here knows that we're very focused on improving our capital structure. We're happy to say that our leverage ended about 2.34 times in quarter one 2025, and that is to be compared with 2.95 times in the first quarter of 2024, just 1 year ago, and 2.39 times when we presented these numbers just 1 quarter ago. If we have a little bit closer look on the next slide, when we talk about revenue, you see this growth from about 2.6 billion to just under 4 billion in the first quarter of 2025. That's a very good growth. Of course, that has been supported a lot by positive exchange variation. But I would say the other way around, you know, even if you exclude all of that positive FX, you know, we are looking at a very stable number in Iochp Maxion quarter over quarter in a market that has been down versus the first quarter of 2024. So I would say overall, you know, it looks pretty good in absolute, but even if you exclude for the positive FX impact, I think the company has been doing all right from a revenue point of view globally. If you go to the next slide, we'll look a little bit more in detail and how that looks by product. And you basically see two major changes. One is, you know, our structural components obviously was a little bit down compared to as a percentage of revenue, of our total revenue. It was a little bit down, and that's only due to the fact that the North American commercial vehicle market was down. We have been mitigating that effect a little bit, but clearly components was a little bit down, is a little bit down compared to where they were last year as a total percentage of our revenue. That has been made up though by wheels, and especially in aluminum wheels globally, we are doing all right. And so you see from 30% of revenue of the total company to 33% of revenue in aluminum wheels, and also steel wheels. You know, they've been pretty stable, which means in the market that is a little bit down, we have been able to mitigate the downward effects there. So overall, a little bit less components quarter over quarter, and a little bit more wheels, especially aluminum wheels. We go to the next slide. You look at our revenue by clients. First of all, I think this is a very healthy slide. We don't have 3 big customers and then a few others. It's very healthy, I think, to see that top 5 is just under 50%. Top 10 is about 75%. And you know, you see that same story that I was talking about on the prior slides back here. You see some clients like Daimler and like Tretton, where we sell a lot of components, chassis. You see them down as a percentage of our total revenue, but we've been able to make it up with other customers, especially on the passenger side. If you look at Toyota, you look at Stellantis, you look at Land Rover, you look at GM, we've been able to make things up, and so that has been a contributor to that phenomenon of us being stable, even though the markets have been overall rather down. And so I think a pretty healthy look on this slide. If we look in more detail by region, Aina, if you go to the next slide. You see our pearl. It's called South America. We are very happy to have about a quarter of a revenue nowadays in Brazil. We're always happy, but especially today, because I think Brazil is outperforming global markets, and so we are very happy to have a large presence in Brazil. You see the market has been up about 8%. We've been up about 7%. Keep in mind the CRU steel index was down in the first quarter of 2025 compared to the first quarter of 2024. So we've been adjusting our prices a little bit. But overall, this is a very positive picture for the company. Actually, in light vehicle, we were way above what the market has been doing anyway in a positive way. And so, we feel very happy being in Brazil anyway, but, these numbers look good and they have been helping us to mitigate some of the negative effects that we see in other regions. Which, if you go to the next slide, Aina, North America, you see, -5% on the bottom left in light vehicles and -22% on commercial vehicles. That's tough. And so you see that back in our numbers. Now, obviously, our numbers absolutely actually a little bit above the numbers from the first quarter of 24. But of course, we have a big support from positive exchange, about 162, 163 million reais. So if you deduct for that, you see, we are more or less in line with what the market is doing, mitigating it a little bit with steel wheels for light vehicles in the North American market. So a little bit less down than what the market overall has been doing. And we expect that to continue like this. We will try to continue to outperform the market a little bit. If you go to the next slide, Asia, it's our smallest of the four regions that we present here, but nevertheless, it's about 9%. Now, the Asian market has been under more pressure than everybody believed and everybody wanted. Now, our numbers are up, but again, we have a positive exchange variation in there. So if you exclude for that, it's more or less stable. We're pretty close to where we were 1 year, same quarter, 1 year ago, same quarter. Which again, means that we are outperforming the market to some extent. And, we're very happy with our business in India. We have been growing steel wheels in India. We will grow aluminum wheels in India. And so my expectation is that we will continue to outperform that market also going forward. But not a bad first quarter in Asia for the company, given how the market is performing there. Then if we go to Europe, on this slide, you actually see that, our revenue is way up. And even if you exclude for positive FX, our revenue is still up. And that is in a market that is, I would say, under pressure. -7% on light vehicle, -12% on trucks, and our revenue is a little bit up. Now, there's only two conclusions that we can draw there, and they're both right. One is we're passing on increased costs, raw material costs, other inflationary costs at an appropriate level. But also we're gaining market share. And so that's a good thing to have happening in a market that is under pressure. If you can gain a little bit of market share, that of course helps a lot to offset negative effects that you would otherwise have, and that I'm sure many suppliers in Europe are facing. So we wish the market would be up instead of down, but in this downward market, I think we are having a very decent performance from a revenue point of view. And this is the biggest of the four. This is representing about 37.5% of our total revenue in the company. So a good story there, I would say, in a tough market situation. If we go to the next slide, I know. We look at our gross profit and our gross margin. I'm actually very happy to say that we've been able to again expand that gross margin. It's now running at a level of about 11.3% on absolute numbers. That's an increase of about 15%, which is quite meaningful, I would say, and it represents a growth of about 0.6 percentage points in gross margin. We go to the next slide. Then we have a look at EBITDA, and also there a very strong growth in absolute EBITDA, of course, supported by FX, by positive FX, and the margin increase from about 8.8% in the first quarter of 24 to about 9% in the first quarter of 2025, with minimal restructuring costs in both these quarters. In 2024, we didn't do a lot, and quarter one 2025 also these restructuring costs are very minimal. So being aligned with our targets when it comes to absolute EBITDA and EBITDA margin. We go to the next slide. You see our net income. That's a little bit different story that is impacted by basically three reasons. One is the SELIC that everyone knows has been increasing. Even yesterday was increasing. And then we had some other non-monetary items, mainly in Turkey, not only in Turkey, but mainly in Turkey, caused by FX that led us to having a reduced number in net income to what we were planning and what we had last year. And then one more thing is that in the first quarter of 2024, we had some one-time upsides, legal upsides, and those, of course, did not happen in the first quarter of 25. That's the explanation for this number, being positive, but going down compared to what we were showing last year. We go to the next slide. We look at our investments. I would say we're really very disciplined when it comes to investments. It's about the same number of investment as what we had 1 year ago, same quarter. But if you deduct for the FX variation, actually we're spending about 10% less than what we did a year ago at similar units. And so I would say this is a very disciplined story, completely in line with our targets. We go to the next one, Aina. Then we look at our financial leverage. We talked about the overall number. It has been coming down over the last quarters, and it continued to go down also in the first quarter of 2025. And so I think again, this is a leverage that is in line with our internal targets, and we're happy to continue to be working in that direction, as you all know. We go to the next one. Our liquidity ratio it's very strong. I would say we didn't draw any of our credit lines, and our short-term debt continued to go down. Cash position is still strong, and so that led to kind of a similar strong liquidity ratio of about 5.2, 5.3 times as what we showed to you just one quarter ago. So still very strong, high level of liquidity ratio. We go to the next one. We'll look a little bit more in detail on our debt. You've seen a similar picture on the top left. Very good spread of our debt in the different currencies. You see our debt maturity. I think this year, next year, 2027, relatively low debt maturity, and then a little bit more work to be done for 2028 that we will not do now. We will do it at the right time, at the right costs, and I'm sure we will manage that one. But I think a very good situation for the company on the short and medium term. Of course, we have been reducing our short-term debt. We talked about that in prior calls, and it's now only about 8-9% of our total debt that we have on short-term debt. So I would say a solid story in this respect as well. We go to the next slide. I want to wrap it up. As we see the first quarter for Iochp Maxion, of course, the markets have been a little bit down in quarter one 2025, and there is a significant amount of uncertainty because of the whole tariff situation and the impact it could have, may not have. I would say, Maxion is performing very stable in revenue, excluding the FX, of course, very well in absolute numbers, including the positive FX, but even excluding the FX, we're in a very stable modus, and we're working through these tariffs case by case and week by week. And when you ask me the impact on our business, I would say the direct impact of that tariff situation, being a global company, not being a big exporter, that has not been our strategy since a long time. I think we're actually in a little bit better competitive situation than some of our peers. And so, the market is down, we're stable, and we're working through this tariff situation that as everybody knows, it's quite dynamic. So I would say, top right here, we are on track for meeting our 2025 global targets. And I put CP there, which means ceteris paribus, means all other things equal, because, of course, nobody knows exactly what will happen and what will be the impact of the trade situation that is going on right now. But overall, I would say Maxion is a resilient company. We are continuing to launch new products flawlessly. We win important new business in all of our segments, in wheels and in components. And actually, as I said before, we're gaining some share in a distressed market, especially from a point of view of Europe. And then, from an investment point of view, I think we're completely in line with our targets, and we are, finishing these major investments that we've started some time ago in Turkey for truck aluminum wheels and in Mexico for components. Both of these investments are on track to launch and ramp up as we targeted still in this year, 2025. So with that, I would say thank you very much and give the word back to Rodrigo.
Agora daremos início à sessão de perguntas e respostas. Pedimos por gentileza que façam todas as perguntas de uma só vez, aguardando a resposta da companhia. Lembrando que para fazer perguntas, orientamos que sejam enviadas via ícone de Q&A no botão inferior de sua tela. Por padrão da dinâmica, seus nomes serão anunciados para que façam sua pergunta ao vivo. Nesse momento, uma solicitação para ativar seu microfone aparecerá na tela. A nossa primeira pergunta é do André Ferreira, do Bradesco. André, por favor, você pode prosseguir.
Oi, bom dia, pessoal. Obrigado pelo espaço, parabéns pelo resultado. First, just wanted to congratulate Peter on the new job. I'm sure you'll do great things in this new role. Now switching back to Portuguese. So, eu queria ver 2 pontos com vocês. O primeiro, com as novas projeções de volumes das consultorias, claro, associado ao que vocês mesmos esperam de volumes, vocês veem uma desalavancagem operacional relevante ou acham que ainda é possível pensar em margens de 2 dígitos para 2025, principalmente considerando a expansão de capacidade no México, destravando eficiência? E segundo ponto, quanto o CAPEX vocês acreditam que vai ser menor esse ano comparado ao ano passado, com a conclusão dos investimentos na Turquia e no México? E se vocês têm alguma flexibilidade de, talvez não nesses 2, né, mas assim, de levar mais investimentos não tão necessários para o ano que vem, melhorando o fluxo de caixa desse ano. Obrigado.
Hello, André. Thank you for your questions that I will try to answer both of them. I think the current projections, volume projections that we have from the institutions, those are already included in our forecast for the whole year. And so, if it stays at that, I would say we're on track with the deleveraging that we targeted for ourselves, and we're also on track for delivering the double-digit margin. Now, of course, the situation is still dynamic as we speak, probably as we will speak over the next days, weeks, and months. And so we don't know exactly what the final impact will be. But if the impact will be around that, what is being projected right now, I think we will stick with our targets and deliver on the deleveraging as well as on the double-digit margins. But of course, I mentioned ceteris paribus means things should stay like they are or get better, right? That would be helpful. But if they get significantly worse, then we need to revisit these targets. But right now, we stick to our targets. When it comes to capex, of course, these were very big investments that we had been making in both in Mexico for components and in Turkey for wheels. Actually, those were the two biggest investments that we made since 2012 when Iochp Maxion took over a lot of business, including Hayes Lambert. When these projects will be finalized at the end of this year, beginning of next year, from a capex point of view, we will have to do a little bit for the existing plans. Of course, when you run those big capex projects and you work on your deleveraging, that goes at the expense of some other stuff that you do in all the other operations. So we expect to catch up a little bit there, but it is not our intent to restart, such a big capex project, organic growth project, anytime soon. So that should give us some relief from a capex point of view, albeit that all the plans that have been suffering a little bit to support, spending the capex on these two big projects, we will have to catch up a little bit there as well. Does that answer your questions?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
A nossa próxima pergunta é da Fernanda Arrecchia, do BTG. Fernanda, por favor, pode prosseguir.
Oi, pessoal, bom dia e Peter, boas-vindas aí. Dois pontos aqui no nosso lado também. Primeiro, falando um pouquinho sobre cenário automotivo global, acho que vocês colocaram ali no release a projeção atualizada, mas queria entender se vocês puderem dar um pouco mais de granularidade sobre como é que vocês estão vendo perspectiva para a América do Norte, Europa, agora incluindo esse cenário de tarifa e potencialmente recessão global. E o segundo ponto é explorar um pouquinho a perspectiva para o Brasil, né? Porque, como vocês mostraram bem, o Brasil foi a região que segurou o volume nesse primeiro trimestre, né? Quando a gente olha para os dados de abril, para emplacamento, ele vieram um pouco mais fraco, né? Tem um pouco o impacto ali de dias úteis, mas eu queria entender como é que vocês estão vendo a evolução de Brasil para os próximos meses. São esses dois pontos. Obrigada.
Okay, Fernando, thank you very much for the question. So when it comes to global automotive, I think the whole world is asking this question: what will happen in the end? I think we're seeing impact, but I think at the same time it's impossible to say where this story will end. I think if we would see more impact, it could come two ways. It could come through supply chain interruption that I hope our customers, the big OEMs, will avoid to let happen. And so there will need to be a good cooperation between suppliers, all suppliers, because only missing a few parts on a vehicle can lead to supply chain interruption already. And so there needs to be good cooperation between suppliers and OEMs. And I think, if you look over a long period of time, these discussions have always been tough between suppliers and OEMs, but ultimately, I think people have always found workable solutions. And so I'm counting on that as well. Now, what could be the other impacts? Of course, recession or lower growth. And I think we see that happening. And if that happens, I think, it could have a worldwide impact, but of course, the biggest impact could be in North America, in the US in particular. And so there could be some more volume reduction there, not only for pass car, but also for truck, which is even more dependent on the economy, as you know. So that could be, a further risk that we see generally for the industry, and that of course also could impact Maxion. Now again, we know how to handle these situations because it wouldn't be the first time that something like that happens. And also we would have plans ready to address that and to again mitigate impact on our numbers. So I'm not counting on total disaster. Let's hope that will be avoided. But of course, you know, depending on the impact being a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, you know, we will have to adjust, and we will be ready to do so. When you talk about Brazil, you know, trucks, we have commercial vehicles. We have a very strong position in the market, both for components as well as for wheels. And so, you know, we would really be going up and down with the market. So if there's a little bit less, then you know, we would see that as well. But we don't expect huge variation to what we were planning anyway since the beginning of the year. So I would say, you know, if you see a little bit less, that would be already incorporated in our projections for the future. When you look at passenger car, I actually think we're doing pretty well, and you could see it from the slide that I presented, where you know we were way over that what the market was increasing. I think the market increasing, you know, was more like 8, and we are doing 18. So I think that story also will continue. So there would be maybe a little bit less upside if there's a little bit less production. But we would still be doing very well compared to the market is my expectation. Does that answer your questions?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much.
A nossa próxima pergunta é do Lucas Lag, da XP. Lucas, por favor, pode prosseguir.
Bom dia, obrigado, Rodrigo. Bom dia, Peter, Renato. Peter, would also like to congratulate you on your new role. We wish you our best and success, and hope we can get more in touch going forward. Pensando nas perguntas aqui que a gente queria explorar com vocês, acho que são dois principais pontos aqui. Ainda na dinâmica de mercado, assim, pensando em América do Norte, mais para entender assim, o que está puxando o mercado para baixo, né? Acho que a gente tem visto uma dinâmica de residential spending que acho que parece estar um pouco pior, e aí non-residential spending acho que está segurando um pouco. Pensando para frente, qual que seria a combinação mais razoável aqui a se considerar, né? Talvez seja uma piora de non-residential spending por conta de juros altos, ou na verdade a gente já chegou num bottom para gastos residenciais, deveria haver talvez um ponto de flexão e alguma melhora para veículos comerciais leves, mas pensando no que vocês enxergam como drivers daqui para frente para a América do Norte, pensando, né, justamente no que seria um resultado aqui dessa dinâmica de mercado para frente. E aí a Europa, acho que pensando no comentário, né, levando em consideração o comentário de ganho de market share, mais para entender o que levou esse ganho de market share, né? Se dá para a gente pensar que foi, na verdade, a carteira de clientes da Iochp ganhando share no mercado relativo a clientes com uma menor representatividade, ou se foi, na verdade, a Iochp levando contratos que antes estavam nas mãos de concorrentes, mais tentando entender o que levou, né, esse ganho de participação de mercado. E assim, a Europa, né, a gente entende que a Iochp acaba tendo um perfil mais globalizado, mais diversificado. Tem a impressão que concorrentes no continente europeu sejam mais concentrados ali, não tem um footprint tão global. E dado o contexto pior de mercado, né, a gente já viu aí uma situação fragilizada em outros concorrentes da América do Norte, talvez não seja o caso disso começar a acontecer na Europa e talvez, né, mais ganhos de market share daqui para frente por conta dessa situação relativamente pior dos concorrentes a um nível financeiro, né? Então, seriam esses dois pontos em relação ao mercado norte-americano e europeu. Obrigado.
Okay, Lucas, thank you for the questions. Let me start with your first question on North America. You know, we talked about it in the presentation. We talked about it in the prior question, and I think there's really a lot of speculation around, you know, what's going on in North America and what will be the end situation. I would not like to add too much to that speculation. I know there's a lot of companies now saying we are suspending guidance because we actually don't know what will be the impact of all that is happening. I just want to say that we are watching it very, very closely. We are mitigating there where we can, either through, auto logistics solutions, or through, gaining share there where possible, there where, wheels can help components who is more impacted by the commercial vehicle situation that is much more down than the pass car side where wheels is stronger. We're trying to work together to see how we can mitigate impact. But I think we need one more quarter, maybe 2 more quarters to know exactly what's the situation and what's the ultimate impact, and who is having more impact from that and who's having less impact from that. Right now, I can tell you, year to date, we're seeing a little bit less impact for Iochp Maxion than what's happening on the total market, and we will do our best to make that even better, if any way possible. When I come to market share gain in Europe, I don't want to speculate about competition, but I think our customers see Iochp Maxion for sure as a very resilient company, and we are, right? If you look at our financials, but not only at our financials, also on the new product that we launch, and on a global support that we can offer customers. If we want to work with Chinese OEMs in Europe, we are present in China. We are helping them in Brazil. We are working with them in Europe. Now we have some competitive advantages that I think all count in maybe us being able to either profit from a market that at some point in time I think will come back, or to mitigate impacts from a market that right now is truly down. But one thing that I can tell you is that this market share gain that we're seeing, it's not just one wheel here or there. It's happening in all the segments. It's happening in pass car steel wheels. It's happening in pass car aluminum wheels. It's happening in truck steel wheels for sure. And I can tell you, once we sell our first truck aluminum wheel in Europe, that is a gain in market share as well, because we've never sold any wheel there. So every wheel we sell there will be a market share gain. And so, I expect this situation to continue. That doesn't mean we are going to be the only competitor there. There's no way like that. But right now we're in a favorable position because of some positions that we have created for the company, both from a financial point of view, as well as from a product point of view, from an innovation point of view, from a footprint point of view, from a customer relationship point of view. So I would say it's a favorable situation that we for sure will try to continue to have.
Perfect, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas.
A nossa próxima pergunta é do Gabriel Tinen, do Santander. Gabriel, por favor, pode prosseguir.
Bom dia, pessoal. Obrigado pelo espaço. 2 perguntas do meu lado. Uma primeira mais voltada aqui para mix, né? Vocês mencionam, de forma geral, que esse trimestre foi ajudado por um mix mais favorável, que ajuda nas margens também. E eu queria entender um pouco mais de como tem sido a evolução, né, dentro do lançamento de novos produtos, quão representativo ele tem sido de forma geral, e também com relação à fábrica da Turquia, se puderem dar um pouco mais da expectativa de timing e como que deve se dar a evolução de utilização. E aí um segundo ponto, mais focado aqui na geração de caixa, né, como que fica a expectativa para esse ano, se puderem dar um pouco mais de cor, principalmente aí com os impactos aí do trade war que tem acontecido. Obrigado, pessoal.
Okay, Gabriel, I will take the first one, and then I will give the word to Renato Salum to talk a little bit more about cash. Now, the positive mix is it's not just a product mix. I think we have a more positive mix, first of all, because we're a global company, and so we are able to offset some negatives that everybody's feeling somewhere in the world by positives somewhere else where maybe not everybody is feeling it. And so our global footprint gives us a positive mix compared to the market and compared to maybe also some of our competitors. And then if you look at wheels and components, of course components is more focused on heavy truck, and that's a market that particularly in North America is under pressure. But at the same time, sometimes we're able to make up something on the pass car side where Maxion wheels has a very strong position. And so, the combination of all of that gives us the opportunity to mitigate some of the impacts that we're seeing in the market. I'm not saying we are immune at all. We are feeling the pressures in the market as well, but I think we have some tools to offset some of it and not feel the total pain. That's when we talk about positive mix. That's, I think, more relevant than one product here or one product there. When you talk about new business wins, I think you mentioned that as well. I would love to show you in this presentation a series of slides of what business we are winning with nice cars and nice wheels and nice pickups and chassis in there from us. But we're restricted because of confidentiality reasons from our customers to do that. But I can guarantee you that we're excited about the new business that we have been winning and are launching, and also the business that we're working on now, where we have a good feeling that we will bring positive news to our results, both revenue and margin. So from that point of view, I'm a little bit restricted on what I can talk about from a customer point of view, but we feel excited about the new business wins that we are continuing to win. If that's okay on your first one or two questions, then I would pass the word to Renate Salum to talk a little bit more about the cash. Is that okay?
Yes, that is very clear.
Thank you.
Oi, Gabriel, tudo bem? Bom dia, obrigado pela pergunta. Vamos lá, falando um pouquinho aqui sobre a geração de caixa e sobre qual que é a visão da companhia em termos de EBITDA. Eu acho que vale a pena aqui reforçar, acho que 4 pilares que sustentam aqui a nossa gestão financeira, tá? Então, o primeiro deles é a capacidade, né, consistente de converter, obviamente, o EBITDA em geração de caixa. Então, essa é uma disciplina e é fundamental para a sustentabilidade do modelo dos nossos negócios, tá? O segundo pilar é o controle rigoroso com o capital de giro, né? Como vocês sabem, nós monitoramos mensalmente esse indicador e conseguimos manter um nível entre 13,5% a 14% da receita líquida nos últimos 8 trimestres consecutivamente. Nós tivemos uma evolução significativa comparado aos 23%. Nós tínhamos aí um working capital ratio em torno de 23% em 2021, 19% em 2022, e como eu disse, a gente vem rodando aqui em 3,5% a 8 trimestres de forma consecutiva, tá? Terceiro pilar, eu acho que o Peter já falou um pouquinho, mas é um monitoramento e a priorização do CAPEX, né, com base em retorno, né? Conforme mencionado, esse tema é tratado com bastante seriedade e faz parte da agenda mensal, tanto do Comitê Financeiro quanto do Conselho de Administração. Então, cada investimento aqui ele é analisado à luz do retorno sobre o capital empregado, tá? E o quarto pilar, que eu diria que é um dos mais importantes aqui, é uma consequência natural dos anteriores, que é a redução da nossa dívida bruta. Então, a gente tem atuado com bastante responsabilidade, proatividade para substituir passivos por instrumentos com custos mais eficientes, sempre que o valor presente, obviamente, líquido, né, da transação for positivo. Então, quando a gente compara os primeiros trimestres de 2025 e 2024, a gente observa que a companhia mantém uma exposição relevante ao CDI, ou seja, com um saldo em torno de 2,4 bilhões de reais, tá? E isso tanto no primeiro TRI, quanto no 24, quanto no primeiro TRI de 25. E apesar da elevação do CDI médio que a gente vê no período, né? Se a gente olhar o primeiro trimestre de 24, nós tivemos ali um CDI médio de 11,28%, e para 2025 a gente tem 12,95%, a gente vê um aumento de 1,67 pontos percentuais, ou seja, a gente conseguiu neutralizar um pouco aqui o impacto através de estratégias de liability mesmo, né? Quais foram essas estratégias? Acho que dentre das principais ações, a gente destaca o pré-pagamento de debêntures que tinham custos naquela época de CDI mais 2,60, que foram substituídos por novas emissões com CDI mais 1,35, isso representa uma redução significativa em termos de spread para a companhia. Nós firmamos também operações estruturadas com o BNDES, o Exim, no montante de 130 milhões de dólares, tá? Uma taxa fixa em torno de 5,2% ao ano, e mais recentemente contratamos uma linha com o FINEP no valor de 375 milhões, dos quais 60 milhões já foram desembolsados e tem um custo de equivalente a TR mais 2,3%, tá? Então, todas essas iniciativas, elas contribuíram para uma redução efetiva do custo da dívida e, como resultado, o valor líquido das despesas financeiras com juros deduzidos, obviamente, da receita de aplicação financeira, permaneceu praticamente estável, né? Porque em algum momento lá no passado eu tinha mais dívida bruta e tinha mais posição de caixa. Hoje, quando a gente olha, eu tenho menos dívida bruta e tenho uma posição menor de caixa porque a gente vem fazendo pagamento. Então, quando a gente olha no primeiro trimestre de 2024, a gente tem 144 milhões de despesas de juros que são compensados aí de 40,7 milhões de receitas financeiras. Então, a gente está falando de um custo líquido de 104 milhões de reais aproximadamente. E no primeiro trimestre, nós já tivemos 130 milhões em juros, tá? Na despesa de juros, quando a gente olha na nota explicativa ali que quebra a questão de juros da companhia, e a gente tem também 25 milhões de receita, ou seja, a gente resulta ali nos 105 milhões de reais de custo líquido de dívida, tá? Então, assim, o que eu quero dizer é que, em termos de dívida, se a gente tivesse aplicado no primeiro trimestre de 2025 o mesmo custo do CDI que nós tivemos no trimestre de 2024, e mesmo considerando toda a questão cambial, nós teríamos aqui um resultado financeiro negativo de em torno de 9,36 milhões, tá? Então, isso aqui é mais para trazer um pouco da ideia de uma parte importante que faz parte da nosso free cash flow, que é o pagamento das nossas linhas, né? Então, o que eu quero dizer no final é que nós estamos numa projeção, conforme o Peter já mostrou na apresentação anterior, de desalavancagem da companhia. Nós estamos com um monitoramento que hoje nos traz uma perspectiva com base no resultado e nas projeções que nós temos hoje, ou seja, o volume que eu tenho e aquilo que eu consigo converter em geração de caixa operacional da companhia, eu estou assim seguro nesse momento, nessa visão, que nós vamos atingir aquilo que nós tínhamos comentado inicialmente, que é uma margem, trazendo a margem da companhia próximo aos níveis históricos que nós tínhamos ali entre 2013 e 2019, que todos sabem que era em torno de 11%, tá? Então, as estratégias, elas continuam as mesmas, os pilares financeiros continuam os mesmos, o monitoramento deles, ele são feitos de todos esses pilares mensalmente, tá? E qualquer ponto que a gente vê de movimentação de saída fora daquilo que a gente estava esperando, a gente já toma a correção medida de forma correta naquele mesmo mês, tá? Então, eu diria que hoje a gente pode considerar aquilo que a gente vem falando como ainda uma realidade para a companhia. Não sei se ficou alguma dúvida, Gabriel.
Super claro, Renato. Obrigado.
Muito obrigado, abraço.
A nossa próxima pergunta é do Kiefer Kennedy, do Citibank. Kiefer, por favor, pode prosseguir.
Tudo bem, pessoal? Bom dia, Peter. Parabéns aí pelo novo cargo. Duas perguntas aqui, pessoal. Acho que a maioria das perguntas já foram feitas. Ainda com relação ao Trump Tariffs, aqui o tema em discussão. Vocês comentam na apresentação que vocês estão lidando, né, com essa questão ali, caso a caso, semana a semana, que o impacto direto, né, atualmente aqui é bastante limitado. Queria um pouco mais de detalhe, quando vocês falam, né, o termo ali caso a caso, se pudessem compartilhar por gentileza que tipo de ações específicas estão sendo tomadas, como é que vocês estão vendo as conversas, né, a receptividade, comportamento dos clientes, parceiros, fornecedores, enfim. Eu queria um pouco mais de cor nesses detalhes que vocês comentaram na apresentação. E uma segunda, mudando um pouco de tema, com relação às montadoras chinesas, né, a companhia ela tem alguns contratos menores ali com algumas montadoras chinesas. Eu queria um update aqui, se a gente deveria ver algum aumento de representatividade desses contratos, né? Eles são players mais verticalizados que o restante do mercado na média, então, assim, mas eles estão assumindo um papel de destaque maior, né, supply global de veículos. Então, qualquer detalhe adicional aqui desses contratos com esses players chineses ajudaria bastante a gente. São essas duas. Obrigado.
Hello, Kiefer. Thank you for those questions. So a little bit more color on how we handle tariffs. Yes, we have to be, working on this week by week, day by day, in fact, because the changes are day by day and week to week. And so we have a team that is focused on this and that keeps everybody updated almost on a daily basis. And for sure, when things change. And when I say we're looking at possibilities, if you have your operations in one country and you're a big exporter, like some of our competitors are, we have a lot of Chinese competitors. Then on the one hand, you could say it's more easy to understand what your impact is. On the other hand, you have less flexibility. We at Iochp Maxion have much more flexibility, so we can supply wheels from one location, let's say India, but we could supply the same wheels from Brazil or from Turkey or from Mexico. And so if it makes more sense to produce for a certain period of time in another location, we can do that pretty quickly. And so that's something that, of course, we are analyzing together with our customers. They understand that, and I think they value those options that we are able to offer, the flexibility that we are able to offer. That's a little bit more work than when you say I'm stuck anyway and I don't have a lot of possibilities, but it's positive work. And so I would say, the direct impact, and I mean the direct impact, okay, this country gets this tariff, and therefore this impact, that's for us more manageable, I think, than for many of our peers. A lot of work, but we can create more flexibility for our customers, and they will value that. The indirect impact, of course, what does this do to the supply chain overall? What does this do to the economy? That's another question, and that's where you need to listen more to what customers are telling you on what it means for their releases, for their production schedules, what it means for the economy. And so that's a different kind of work. That's just more trying to be aware of what's happening, but you can't do a lot about that as a company. So a lot of work being done. We can offer some more flexibility, and we're trying to capitalize on that. When we talk about Chinese OEMs and the representation with the Chinese OEMs, I think we're in a good position. We are gaining with them in Europe. We will be working with them in Brazil, and so I think we're in a good position to work with these important customers going forward. And again, they know us from China. They know us. They will know us. They know us already in Europe. They will know us in Brazil. And so that also gives them more confidence to work with a partner that they have been working with in other regions that they know they can count on. I think that's a competitive advantage for our company. When you talk about vertical integration, there's always a risk of that, but we've not seen an example of that when it comes to wheels or chassis. And I think, both these products are usually very favorable for localization. And so that's what we are counting on. And that's also what we see happening so far. When you talk about CV, especially CV outside of China, I agree with you. There is some more noise around that. And again, I think we have a very favorable position, both from a wheels point of view as from a components point of view, to be a solid partner for the Chinese once they are also able in that segment to gain some momentum, like they are doing already on the pass car side. I hope that answers your questions.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank
you, Kiefer.
A nossa próxima pergunta é do Pedro Tineo, do Itaú BBA. Pedro, por favor, pode prosseguir.
Obrigado por pegar minha pergunta. Queria também deixar aqui um sucesso para o Peter no novo cargo. São duas aqui do nosso lado. A primeira delas eu queria só explorar um pouco a questão de... Chamou bastante atenção, né, os comentários de repasse de preço, né, dos custos na Europa. E eu queria entender um pouco como que está essa relação, né, de barganha entre as montadoras e a Iochp, né, dado um cenário que a gente pode ter ali uma desaceleração, redução de volume, como que fica essa questão de reajustes de preço e, caso seja necessário, né, quais alavancas vocês poderiam ter dentro de casa para poder mitigar possíveis impactos ali de não conseguir ou ter um total repasse de preço dos custos ali para os insumos de vocês. E aí acho que um segundo ponto, eu queria entender um pouco a dinâmica de CAPEX, né, olhando para 2026. Vocês comentaram, né, sobre os investimentos, né, de Turquia, México, e da redução, né, desses investimentos mais pesados para 2026, mas outros investimentos aqui também que são relevantes, vocês precisariam fazer também. Como que a gente pode pensar, né, na evolução no ano contra ano para 2026? Acho que esse é o principal aqui, pessoal. Obrigado.
Hello, Pedro. Thank you for both questions. So first of all, on pricing adjustments, I think we need to, and especially Europe, which is what I think you were asking. I think we need to differentiate between pricing adjustments because of raw material, where there is processes in place, sometimes formulas in place, and I think that's a very mature process that is ongoing there. Since a long time. Now that doesn't mean it's always crystal clear and always easy, but I think we have processes in place and we can count on these working out over time in the right way, and that's what we have been seeing happening, and that we will see happening. Then there is other inflationary costs besides raw material, right? And I think those other inflationary costs have been higher recent years than what we've seen in the past, and of course since this is new and at different levels than what we saw in the past, that has been a little bit more discussion. But as I said, these discussions are never easy, but we've been able to find good solutions anyway, and we will continue to find good solutions, appropriate solutions with our customers going forward. But I can also tell you that this is a company that is more than 100 years old, both in Europe and Brazil, North America. We are more than 100 years old, and since 100 years, we're dealing with very big customers, very big OEMs. They're much larger than we are. We're dealing with very big suppliers. Some of those are very much bigger than we are, and we always need to fight our way through. Otherwise, we would not have been surviving today. So we've had good training over the last 100 years, and we put it in practice every day. And I think you can count on us doing the right thing when it comes to adjusting pricing at an appropriate level. When you talk about CapEx 2026, of course, as I said, those big projects that we have initiated a few years ago, they're coming to an end. Now, what will continue to happen in 2026 from a cash point of view related to these projects depends a little bit on how we finish 2025. As I said as well, some of our plans have been getting a little bit less money in order to support to be able to finance these big projects and continue to work on our deleveraging. So we need to take care of that. And then I think what will be next, I think that was part of your question as well. I got a whole list of good smaller projects, not $50 million, $100 million project, but a whole list of smaller projects to do a few $1 million here, do a few $1 million there, with much quicker paybacks in promising places like India or Turkey or Brazil, South America. And so depending on how the world will turn around in 2025, how we will look at the end of this year, we will make the right choices when it comes to these smaller projects and the prioritization of those as well going forward. I hope that gives you some more insight related to those two questions.
Super claro, Peter. Obrigado, viu?
Thank you.
Nós temos tempo para mais uma pergunta, e a próxima pergunta é do Marcelo Mota, do JP Morgan. Marcelo, por favor, pode prosseguir.
Obrigado, Rodrigo. Parabéns aí para o Peter também. Boa sorte para ele. São duas perguntas rápidas. A primeira, quando a gente olha a questão do G&A sobre receita, né? Ele ficou mais alto ano contra ano, mas ficou em linha com o que tinha sido o quarto tri. Vocês comentam da questão do câmbio. Então, só entender se na cabeça de vocês o patamar de G&A que a gente tem visto deveria aí continuar rodando aí mais perto dessa casa aí de 5 para 5 alguma coisa da receita, comparada com os 4,5 que vocês vieram fazendo ali até o terceiro tri de 2024. E a outra pergunta é sobre o outlook agora para o segundo tri, né? Enfim, acho que foi talvez começou aí com a questão das tarifas, então só entender se vocês têm visto algum slowdown em abril ou continua na parte de vendas, na parte de demanda aí dos clientes, não mudou nada vis-à-vis desse primeiro tri forte que vocês tiveram. Obrigado.
Thank you, Marcelo. Those are good questions. So on the SG&A, yes, we've seen an uptick in the first quarter, partially because we had some upside last year. We didn't have this year, but also partially because we had some costs this year that in the first quarter that we expect to make up for in the next quarter. So I'm not too worried about our SG&A number for the total year, but of course in the first quarter we could see some increase that I think we will manage through to get it back down in the rest of the year. So I hope that answers your question from that point of view. Speaking about the second quarter specifically, a little bit early to talk about second quarter. I think that's in August. But of course, we're watching very, very carefully what's happening. And, if anything, I want to say that, what we see happening what we saw happening during the first quarter, North America under pressure, truck North America under pressure. I believe that is something that is continuing to happen in the second quarter. So that could get a little bit worse. At the same time, we also see some of those positive effects, the things that we're able to mitigate, not only in North America, but in the other regions. We see that happening as well. And so let's see how it all turns out during the rest of the quarter. But I think we see a little bit more of that what we saw in the first quarter. We see that happening, both negative and positive, in the second quarter as well. Does that answer your questions?
Yes, perfeito. Muito obrigado.
Thank you.
Encerramos a sessão de perguntas e respostas e agora gostaríamos de passar a palavra novamente para o Sr. Peter para as considerações finais da companhia.
Okay, so thank you very much for spending time with us this morning. We really appreciate it. It was the first time I've been talking to you, at least in this call. I hope to do it many more times. I hope the world stabilizes instead of becoming more dynamic. But let's see how it goes. I appreciate the time you spent with us, all the good questions that you asked, and looking forward to talk to you many more times in these calls and also at other occasions. So thank you very much and have a good day.
A videoconferência de resultados referentes ao primeiro trimestre de 2025 da Iochp Maxion está encerrada. O departamento de RI está à disposição para responder as demais dúvidas e questões. Muito obrigado aos participantes e tenham um bom dia.